It's all statistics at the end of the day. I think the biggest part of sports betting is that you need to have an appetite for risk and the ability to take losses, use analytics and data to empower your decisions.
All right, guys, welcome to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance, and I'm your host, Ross Mack. Now, look, whether you're a professional on Wall Street, a retail investor, or someone that's just looking to change their overall financial situation, there's always a first step. And guys, look no further because I'm speaking to some of the most influential people in the financial world and learning about their path to economic prosperity. And look, guys, today is no different. I'm sitting down with my dog, Jason Seo, the CEO of Lock Talk. Jason, my man.
What's up, my man?
Yo, welcome to the show, man. This one hits different, right? Because Jason is a person that was once my intern.
Yep, I was.
And now, right, we'll get into what you're doing, but like, let the world know who Jason is, man.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Like, my name is Jason Seo. I'm based out of New York, from New Jersey. Grew up really loving the financial markets, and actually got my first job on Wall Street working at Morgan Stanley with Ross right here. So it's really crazy that we're here now sitting talking about this. But now I run one of the biggest sports betting Telegram groups, one of the biggest sports betting analytics companies, the Lock Talk. I sell my picks on winnable.com, and I put a lot of educational insights for the sports betting industry, but also anyone that just wants to learn and get the basics done, because it's a brand new industry that's just come in to the United States on the legality side. So I think there's a lot of things that we could touch on to really get people educated and aware, because a lot of people are spending a lot of money on this.
Yeah, so now, obviously, right, I got to give all my disclaimers, right? Like, I'm not telling you to go out there and bet and gamble, etc. But like, I think it's important we had this conversation because no matter what it is, right, people want to gamble. People want instant gratification. You go on social media, you're seeing, somebody just turned, $5 into $200,000 because of a 10-leg parlay. And so we're going to get in that. But I actually want to talk about your upbringing, right? Well, not even upbringing, but like how you were actually trained, right? How has working on Wall Street actually prepared you for running a sports betting business?
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty unique, because I think the biggest part of sports betting is that you need to have an appetite for risk and the ability to take losses, use analytics and data to empower your decisions. And that's what Wall Street really taught me: discipline, risk management. And I think a lot of those are the main things that people don't have when they're sports betting or even investing. I know they're not the same things, but they kind of, the methodologies behind it kind of go hand in hand. So the trading on Wall Street, risk management, discipline, and just the ability to go through data, numbers, I think the three main keys I got from Wall Street for sure.
So let's actually talk about that risk management, right? Because my understanding, right now, I'm pulling up some statistics right here, right?
Let's do it.
My understanding is that parlays is what pays the big bucks, but is also the worst type of bet, right? And so literally, right, and if I pull up my bet slip, right, disclaimer, I bet, and I'm always losing, right? And the only time I do good is when I make a single bet or maybe 2-leg parlay, right? And so what I'm saying is that using like a standard minus 110 VIG, right? A 2-team parlay, you now have a 27.5% chance of winning. From 2 to 5, it goes literally down to less than 4% chance of winning. And a 10-team parlay is less than 0.15% chance of winning. Like, let's talk about the business of parlays and right? Why is everybody trying to do it? And what do you recommend, if anything, when it comes to those?
Oh, for sure. This is definitely key. So in terms of parlays, this is a stat that you can see online. I think Forbes talked about it, but even if you go into like DraftKings, they're a public company, and a bunch of these sports books who give detailed numbers on kind of how they're making money. And majority, I think 65 to 75% of the money sports books make come from parlays. So, I mean, that tells you everything. They want you to bet parlays. Like, you see the one guy on Instagram or TikTok, he put $10 to make 100 grand. That's like one out of a million guys. Then everyone gets FOMO and they want to go bet it. And that's how they make so much money. It's literally marketing for them, free marketing.
Yeah, so I think it's important, right? Like, I think this is the type of topic that most people in my seat would try to stay away. But I'm like, nope, I'm a man of the people. We got to give it to them. And the reason being is because I could tell a person right now, look, man, go buy, NVIDIA stock. But they can't see that, they can't touch it. But they don't know who Jensen Wong is, but they know who LeBron is, and they know AD, and they know LeBron might get, 25 points and AD might get 6 rebounds. That's what they can feel and touch. And so, let's actually talk about like kind of the similarities that you've seen coming from Wall Street to now, running this type of business?
Yeah, for sure. In terms of like the individual betting, I mean, you could do a lot of analysis. So if you're looking at whether you're betting props, like kind of your point, betting a player to shoot a certain amount of points or get a certain amount of rebounds, you could look at their individual stats, their history, their trends, kind of like, the matchups, very similar to looking at a financial statement. Like how has Apple been doing on the revenue side? Like what products are they selling? Same thing with LeBron in points. Like how has he been shooting? How has the opposing team done against opposing small forwards? Like, is it a good matchup for him? Who's playing on the team? So yeah, to your point, a lot of people who bet on sports, they think just because they know the player and they watch the game, they have an edge. I mean, it's a lot deeper than that. But there is information you can get that pull numbers that can say, okay, this person's a good shot of maybe going over their point total or not going over their point total.
So I love that, right? Because if I'm going to analyze a company,
yeah,
I'm going to look to see, one, is the actual industry they're in growing or declining? Where are they at in this industry? There's revenue growing or declining. What's the assets on the balance sheet? Is their cash growing? Is their liabilities declining? What's their margins they're making, right? I'll break it down. I'll even look at what the CEO did, and, I'll listen to an earnings call. Now, when you're analyzing these players, right, or prop bets for that matter, are you thinking about, are they coming off a back-to-back? Like, what are some things that the average person wouldn't think about that they probably should?
Oh, yeah, look, so that's actually very key. So there are a lot of things that you can pull that are not in the data. So I actually follow, especially for fighting, I follow all the guys on Twitter, their Instagrams, and sometimes you get insights on like their daily life. Like, is this guy partying? Maybe this guy went through a divorce. No, are they on a back-to-back? To your point, like teams, baseball, basketball, football, like they have crazy schedules. You might know that, okay, this guy played in LA and this guy has to go travel all the way to Miami to play his next game. This guy might be a little bit more tired. So for sure, I think the social media aspect and getting data that's outside of the numbers is key. And that's something that, I can get because I have like good connections with people in the industry, but then also just, being aware and being in tune with the industry, like what's going on in the sport.
Now, here's a question, right? Because I think from the beginning of time, right, when, people were able to bet on sports, or they always say, or even fights, right? Like, oh, this fight, they threw this fight, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever come across something that you saw, like, it's no reason this shouldn't have happened, right? Like somebody, like Vegas called the officials, I'm watching a football game, they missed a face mask. It like, what, and obviously there's, when it comes to investing, there's insider trading. There's so many things, right? So you can't always say everything is on the up and up, but have you ever said to yourself, like, there's no way that this should have happened? It has to be like Vegas, because Vegas is equivalent to insider trading.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say this. I mean, it's publicly known, like the refs have a very strong influence in a lot of sports. So I think games are not outright rigged. They're massaged to go a certain way. So for example, let's say they want a team to win, they'll make it, maybe they'll give a little more leniency on fouls. They'll maybe call another foul to a certain player, so then they get into foul trouble more easily. I'm not making this up. Another ref has talked about this. Obviously, it's much harder on the professional level. These guys are getting paid $100 million contracts. They're not throwing a game for you to win your parlay. But there are guys in the lower levels, like college, smaller schools, where this is a little bit more prevalent because a young kid who's not going to the NBA, they're not getting NIT money. Some guy goes, hey, no, shoot a little bit less baskets and I'll give you 50 grand. I mean, it's pretty attractive to them.
And so what do you think, right? Like, obviously you run a business on the side of actually gambling on it, but like to the average fan that's just watching the game, do you think this helps, or like, do you think it helps the overall sports business, or it actually hurts it? And I look at it from the lens of like, whatever Porter's brother was, that's
Jonte Porter.
Jonte Porter's now banned from the league because he was betting on himself, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna take the under. Oh, coach, I'm hurt. Take me out the game." Right? Like, do you think overall this helps like bring more fans to the game, or is it like, nah, it's like a black cloud over it?
So what I do is I basically give people information to empower like their betting. So I think the whole view of things being rigged, of course, I think is a negative. However, I do think people think that because they know this, they can get an edge over the rigging, essentially. So no matter what, I think people always be watching sports. They'll always, like, if they have the ability to, put some money on it. So I don't think it's a complete negative. But of course, I think no matter what, if people think things are fixed or things are kind of like rigged to a certain extent, is a little bit of a negative cloud over it for sure.
Got you. So obviously this is financial freestyle. We got to talk about finance as a whole. And believe it or not, right, this is part of it, right? I'm seeing statistics that people now are betting more on sports than they are on investing. So I think it's I would be remiss if I didn't say it, right? You were trained on Wall Street at one point. He was literally my intern, right? He was on my desk, Morgan Stanley, high yield sales and trading. Like this is full circle. But what's your portfolio look like? Are you know what I mean? 80% sports betting, 10% crypto. Like what's your portfolio look like?
Oh no, yes. So I don't consider sports betting an asset. I think it's just another way to make income. If you're good, obviously, I don't think most people can actually be successful in this unless you have the proper tools, the discipline, and the one thing you talked about, like risk management. There's something called bankroll manager, which we can talk about, which everyone should do if you're sports betting and you want to take it seriously. But to your point, in terms of like my portfolio, I'm heavily invested in stocks. Majority of my wealth is in the stock market. And I also invest in VC or like venture capital. I've done like seed investment Series A personally. And other than that, I do have some fixed income, but very like, somewhat balanced portfolio, but I'm a little bit more aggressive because I feel like from my background in Wall Street and in finance, I have an edge on investing, looking into companies and then being in there for the long term, essentially.
So what would a typical portfolio break down? What should that look like? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think majority of it, it's like, I'd probably say like 60% of my portfolio is in tech. So the NVIDIAs of the world, the Facebooks, the Google, et cetera, et cetera. And then I have some smaller like tech companies. I have some consumer stocks that I felt like I had an edge on. Like Celsius, the drink company, I had that very, very early. And then a few other like more staple stocks that people are probably very familiar with. And then I also have like, assets like gold, silver. I have crypto as well. You want to consider that into like the portfolio, but that's like a small percentage, like unfortunately like 10%. But I'd say also even bringing it back to sports betting, if you want to sports bet and take it seriously, I always say it's like almost like a VC investment. Take 1 to 5% of your total net worth and allocate that to sports betting. And then that way, if you lost everything, which is very hard if you do bankroll management, you can have fun with it and make some money doing it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I definitely want to talk about bankroll management. I want to tell you about a lot of the losses I've had. But look, when we come back, man, we're going to talk more with my dog, Jason Seo of Lock Talk. You guys don't want to miss it. All right, guys, welcome back to Financial Freestyle. It's your boy, Ross Mack, and I'm here with a very special guest, man, my dog, Jason Seo of Lock Talk. Look, man, now, I will say, I am taking losses. I do it for the sport, right? I'm not trying to necessarily make money. I think I do it more so for fun.
For sure.
Because I do enjoy sports, right? I, for the most part, go to all the games, like all the Bears games, et cetera, in Chicago. But you talked about something that was crucial, right? Bankroll management. And I think if I'm talking to a person and they say, hey, how much money should I start investing with? Right? I always tell them it's not how much you start with, it's how much you can afford to invest every month. Because it's about, dollar cost average and et cetera. So let's actually break that down. If you're talking to a person, one, how much should they start sports betting with it? And two, let's really break down bankroll management.
Yep, absolutely. So I think for starting off sports betting, it's to your point, how much are you able to lose without it affecting your life? Paying bills, paying for food, having fun. Like this should be money. Look, I love money, right? I don't want to lose anything, but you have to have an amount where if you lost it all, you're totally fine. Your life's not affected. So I think that range could be from anywhere from 1% to 5% of your total net worth. So I say, let's say you have $100,000 net worth, which not everyone has, but I'm just using it for round numbers. 1 to 5% is anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. Then from that amount, that's a amount that you want to bet on for a longer period of time. So let's call it 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. It's a long-term view because when you're sports betting, you want, like, one day is not going to change your life. You want to do it over time if you have the proper systems and things like that. Of that 1 to 5% amount, let's call it 5K for easy numbers. You want to bet 1 to 5% per bet of that amount. So let's say you did 5% of $5,000, that's around $250. That's how much you would bet per bet. It basically says you have about like 20 chances to lose all your money. But if you did the more conservative side, 1% of $5,000, that'd be $50 a bet. So that's how much you should be betting every single bet, every single game if you're doing singles. And then from there, that point, then you could start doing like more advanced like unit count systems and other like betting systems with that.
Wait, what's that? Say that again. Dual account systems?
No, like betting systems. So like you could do like 1 unit per bet. You could do like the Kelly criterion, things like that, where you can basically
you gotta break this down. My audience, we all have lost money sports betting, but we don't know the science. What's the Kelly system?
So it's basically saying like you have a grading system for your bets. So if you have a bet that's a little bit stronger, which everyone hits me up and say, yo, what's the lock of the day? I'm like, first of all, there's no such thing as a lock, but there are bets that may be a little bit stronger than others. So in those instances, you may bet instead of 1 unit, you bet 2 units or 3 units as an example. But the whole goal is to not lose everything in 1 day, 1 week. You want to be able to like bet over time, make some money, or even if you lose some, then reevaluate maybe every week, every month. That's what I do.
Got you. So question, right? Is there a time during the week, for instance, let's just use football.
Yep.
Right? The games are going to be on Sunday. Is there a time during the week that the lines, for the most part, are the best? In the sense of like you get paid the most for this bet? Because obviously it's like the stock market.
Yep.
The lines are constantly moving.
Yeah.
Like have you looked at anything in that realm yet?
Yeah, I mean, look, so there's a bunch of things you could touch on, and Ross knows a lot. So I mean, he's already touching on these very
But I'm losing.
Things.
I don't know enough, man.
He's saying some key things, man. So like in the sports betting world, like just like the markets, there are different so sports betting is crazy. There's like probably 20 different sports books you could place a bet on, whether it's like FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, these new like DFS companies, these new sweepstake companies. You can place a bet on, let's say, the Lakers money line on like 20 different books, and they all have different lines.
Wow.
So even if you're betting a spread, say -5, right? It could be 4.5 on DraftKings, 4.5 on FanDuel, 6 on BetMGM. So I always say on top of Bankroll Manager, you need to have multiple books. It is if you take it seriously, if you want to make the most profitable bet, because if you're betting -5 on MGM, but you get a -4 on FanDuel, it's a huge difference. Because if the Lakers win by 5, you win on your FanDuel bet, but you push or maybe lose on the MGM bet. So is there a best time to bet? I mean, there is a whole thing called closing line value. So it's the whole theory of efficient markets. If you believe the sports betting market at the end by the time the game starts has the most efficient line where everyone agrees, okay, this is where the line should be. Sometimes the line is different a week or a few days before. Got this all changes because of injuries, maybe like team situations. Like you said, a team's traveling, maybe they have a really rough game and now they're all really tired. So I'd say like usually favorites, it's better to bet on them maybe earlier, and then dogs, it's better to bet on them like close to the game, because you're no one's betting like 3 days before. You might be betting, oh man, the Lakers are playing on Friday, I'm gonna go bet them now. Then there's more money going on the Lakers. They'll move the line just because of volume.
You just gave me an idea. I might have to go ahead and launch this. Is it possible to have a risk arbitrage business in the sense of aggregating all the betting sites?
Yep.
And literally saying, well, it's 3-1, I got Lakers winning here, but they pay better if Lakers lose, and you just literally crossing it. Am I thinking about this?
No, that exists already. That exists.
Oh, okay.
There are guys already doing it.
So actually, I got a question then.
Yeah.
Because I got questions all day. Do you have a science when it comes to live bets?
Yeah, live bets are hard, especially because of what I do, because I have a community of people that basically tell my bets. So it's hard for me to go, hey, like, Lakers are money line right now, because some people may be on their phone, some may not be.
Gotcha.
So they can't get the same exact line. But I'd say the thing about the sports betting market is it's very similar to a financial market. Like it's like an option basically. There's a strike price, an underlying price, volatility, and theta or time. So in my opinion, the live line is pretty much reflective of what actually is going on. So it's very fair, which is not good for you because you want to beat the sports book. So you want to get an advantage over them. But if you look at, I'll say this, if you pay attention to like the opening line or where the line closes at, the Vegas is really, really good at having the lines pretty much to where they end up being. So if the line changes to where you think it will go, like let's say it's Celtics -5 and it's like a pick 'em during the game, bet it live and you can get a better line for sure.
Gotcha. So one, right? I'll still be remiss if I didn't say it, right? Because sports betting it's hitting the streets, and there are not a lot of people winning, right? And in fact, they did a statistic where it said that for every $1 a person bets, that's $2 that they don't end up investing, right? And it's a function of like, oh, if I bet $1, then I might go out, I'll drink a beer, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so I think it's important, and that's why I think it's important that we had these conversations to understand that if you do it, right, bankroll management, risk management, I think that's very important with everything, right? Because I can equate this to, the crypto market or the options market where it's like, people effectively are gambling where, you know, they're trying to swing big. And so let's talk about some of the technology, right? Because I've seen stuff like, say I'm trying to get an edge on buying a stock, right? And like I've seen people that have private jet trackers where it's like, oh, Elon Musk jet went to this city, that city, this city. Oh, maybe he's meeting with this company. Maybe he's gonna, you know, buy batteries for, you know, his Teslas from this battery manufacturer, this lithium, you know, so it could get like, what technologies do you recommend using for the audience?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'll say it's a little bit different because sports betting is not a security. So the view of what like is viewed as insider information in the financial world is not the case here. So what I use, I have like some good sources on like how much money is being placed in certain sports books, in live casinos, or even just like offshore books. That's a huge edge that people don't have. But in terms of like public information, there are a bunch of tools you can get just to get like player data, stats on like trends on how teams are doing, if they're covering spreads, over under trends, things like that. So there's a ton of data that you can get alone, even if you just go on the websites of like NBA.com, MLB.com, NFL.com. They give advanced stats. It just takes a lot of work to sift through all of it to give you information that is available to you.
Gotcha. So we literally, I'm in a fantasy football league, right? I'm in 3, but one of my leagues, right, we do an annual golf trip and we also draft while we're there. And we got we fell victim to an Instagram post where this same thing happened for a group of like 10 guys. They all put money in and they hit for like 100,000. And we was like, oh, let's do the same thing, right? And so now I say that to say we've been doing it for the past like 3-4 weeks and we getting crushed.
Yeah.
Right. Literally before the 12 o'clock games, we already lost 2 out of the 10 legs, right? What advice would you give to us when it comes to that? Because I came with something else where I'm like, look, I think that we should stop trying to do parlays and let's just put all our money together on one bet and then just keep rolling that down the line each week after each week. And maybe by the end of it, we'll have a sizable bankroll. I don't know.
No, I mean, I would say for sure, like if you want to bet seriously, stop parlaying. If you like, just stop parlaying and then only do it for fun. Like maybe if you're up on a week or a month or a certain period of time, put a little bit of that money for fun to see if you get some juice. But if you want to make serious money sports betting, look at most of the people that are like professionals or actually have win a lot of money. They bet big on straights. Like I say, you want to make big money, just like investing, you have to bet big. Same thing with investing. You want to make big investments, like you have to invest pretty big. Like it's not too many instances where you can take like $1,000 and turn to 100 grand in the market. Same thing with sports betting. It's all statistics at the end of the day. But I'd say for you, I think what you said is a pretty good strategy, like taking your money, putting it all on one thing, and then maybe not completely taking it all of it and rolling it over. Maybe take 80% of it and rolling it over, and then you still have some money in the back end so you can keep on firing. Because that's basically calling like a compounding or laddering. You will lose at some point. It's basically like parlaying, but over multiple days. It's the same thing.
And in investing, I say, you know, it's a saying, you can't go wrong, you know, taking a few profits, right? You never lose taking profits. And so what you're saying is now you're just playing with house money at that moment, right? If you win 80%, you can roll it. 20%, you could just give back or just keep for the next bet.
Yeah.
I like that, man. Well, look, Jason, you already know I got nothing but love for you, brother.
Absolutely.
That's it for this episode of Financial Freestyle. I really want to thank you guys for joining. And also, I really hope this helps you guys on your own financial journey, right? If you like me, you've been losing money sports betting, hopefully this give you guys a better outlook when it comes to investing and a better strategy. But look, guys, make sure you come back next week for another episode of Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.